y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I'm Susan, your hostess, and today we're going to make pear scrap vinegar. From those pears that I collected last week, I wanted to take some of those peels and cores and turn them into a vinegar that we can use on salads and in other dishes. So this is a really simple way to save money by not having to go to the store and buy your vinegar. Of course, your pH is going to be lower than the store vinegar that you buy. Usually around a 4 is good. And I've made several vinegars on here. I've made strawberry vinegar and I've made apple vinegar, and it's always with a mother. So for this, I'll need pear peels and cores, about a 1/4 cup of cane sugar, 2 tablespoons of raw apple cider vinegar with the mother, which looks like that. And we're going to simply layer this into a jar, and then we're going to use unfiltered, unchlorinated water to cover our pears up to a 1 to 2 inch headspace. Here are our scraps. In addition to having clean jars, and I'm using 1/2 gallon jars, I'm going to use coffee filters to cover my jars, but you can also use cheesecloth. You can use rubber bands or some kind of cord to wrap that so it stays put. I've pulled out a regular tablespoon so that I can get my sugar out of my jar and into the 1/4 cup measure. I have a tablespoon for the apple cider vinegar, and I've pulled out a cutting board to protect my burners as I work on this, and a spatula to stir. So that is everything that I'm going to be using today. Oh, and you will need a funnel. So we're going to start with our first jar, and I'm just going to get my jars loaded, then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I've got my first jar loaded with the pear scraps. I'm going to move through these jars rather quickly, and then we'll get to the next step. Okay, a 1/4 cup is about 4 tablespoons, and you want at least 1 tablespoon per cup of water that you're adding to your jar. Since I'm using quart jars, I might need to add more sugar because a quart jar is 8 cups. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and add in another 1/4 cup. So for my quart jar, it will be a 1/2 cup of sugar. This jar is a little bit larger, but I'm still going to use the same measurement. I might go a little bit more than that. I think I'm just going to add maybe two tablespoons more into that jar. I'm going to get the rest of these jars loaded, and we'll be right back. All right, I've got all 4 of my jars ready. These are 1/2 gallon, by the way. A 1/4 cup would be for a quart jar of sugar. So I'm doing double the recipe for each jar. So this is my homemade apple cider vinegar with the mother. It'd be 2 tablespoons for a regular jar and 4 tablespoons for this size jar. So basically 1/2 of what you would put the sugar in would be the amount of vinegar. Next will be the water and then the weights. And so I'm going to use my spatula, and I'm just going to make sure that I've got everything into the water and no air pockets. We're going to drop our weight on here. And I'm leaving a good amount of space here because I want to make sure that this does not bubble up and overflow. I've had that happen in the past. And make sure that you're only using 1 coffee filter or, you know, a couple of layers of your cheesecloth. That is basically to allow air to get into the jar and to keep insects out. And the rubber band. And there's the first jar ready to ferment. Well, that didn't take very long at all. I have 4 half-gallon jars of pears that's going to ferment for the next 2 weeks. So I'll be back in about 2 weeks with moving it from stage 1 to stage 2. And I'm going to tell you what you need to do. Your first fermentation, you want to place your jars in a cool, dark place away from sunlight. Or you can actually cover your jars if you have nowhere to put them. You can store them in a jar underneath your cabinet, things like that. The first fermentation, you want to stir this daily for 1 to 2 weeks. The mixture will become very cloudy as it ferments, and it will develop bubbles. The second fermentation, when the mixture smells like cider, is bubbly, you're going to strain off all the scrap. And you're going to place the liquid in a clean jar, recover it like this, and place it in a dark, cool place for 4 to 6 weeks. A slimy, rubbery mother culture will begin to form. After that stage, the 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to start testing your vinegar. Total fermentation can take up to 3 months, so 1 to 3 months. That's on top of the 4 to 6 weeks and the 1 to 2 weeks above that. You want to bottle and store your vinegar when it reaches the desired taste, and you can remove the mother and save it for another batch, or you can leave it in there. I just leave my mother in my vinegar because I've had vinegar go wrong and turn into hooch on my pantry shelf, and I'll show you that. So this was supposed to be vinegar. There was actually some mother left in the jar. I don't know if the lid wasn't on tight enough or what, but it reverted to hooch. And it goes through the process. It turns into like a wine before it turns into vinegar. So I don't know if I took this off too soon or what, but I have hooch and I don't drink. So I just wanted to let you know, it will make a byproduct along the way if that's what you're looking for. Apple scrap vinegar. And it's saving us so much money. Did I mention that this is a Frugal Living Challenge 25, hosted by me, the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch? It is an open collaboration. It ends the end of the year. So if you have some frugal tips that you want to share, please join in our collaboration. I'd love to have you. You will just need to add the hashtag Frugal Living Challenge 25, and you will need to tag my channel. And of course, there is an official playlist that you can add also to your description box. Thank you, my friends. I hope that you will get your vinegar on. Hey friends, thank you so much for watching my channel. Thank you for the many comments, the likes, the friendships, and for sharing this content out. Take a moment and watch all of the advertisements because that is how I get monetized and get paid. I appreciate each and every one of you for your time and your patience. And y'all, I have this special content over here I think you might like.